Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Some of the vegetables we've been told are healthy and essential could actually be contributing to joint pain and chronic inflammation. I know that sounds counterintuitive. After all, vegetables are supposed to be the foundation of a healthy diet, right? But the truth is, not all vegetables are created equal when it comes to protecting your joints and optimizing how you feel every day. Let's talk specifically about nightshade vegetables. These include tomatoes, eggplants, bell peppers, and even white potatoes. They're staples in many people's diets and often promoted for their nutritional value, which is valid. They do contain vitamins and antioxidants. But here's where the nuance matters. These nightshades also contain a group of naturally occurring compounds called alkaloids, particularly solanine. While these alkaloids serve as a defense mechanism for the plants, in humans, they can trigger inflammation in the body, particularly in the joints. Now, this doesn't mean everyone who eats tomatoes or peppers is going to develop joint issues. But if you're someone dealing with chronic joint pain, stiffness, or autoimmune-related inflammation, these vegetables might not be your allies. The alkaloids in nightshades have been shown to disrupt the gut lining in some individuals, increasing intestinal permeability, commonly referred to as leaky gut. And what happens when the gut barrier is compromised? Inflammatory molecules leak into the bloodstream, and for many, the immune system goes into overdrive, attacking its own tissues, often targeting joint areas. I've worked with many individuals who were diligent with their diet, exercised regularly, even took supplements, but still couldn't get rid of the persistent ache in their knees or the stiffness in their fingers in the morning. When we eliminated nightshades from their diet, even just for 30 days, the changes were often dramatic. Joint pain reduced, swelling went down, and they started to feel energy flowing through their body more freely. And the reason is that once we remove that chronic source of irritation, something their body has been subtly battling against, there's less systemic stress and more room for healing. It's important to understand that inflammation isn't always loud or obvious. It can be low-grade, simmering in the background, sapping energy, disrupting sleep, slowing down recovery, and most definitely affecting the joints. Many people have accepted joint pain as just a part of aging. But that narrative doesn't hold up when we look at how much of our pain is driven not by age, but by the choices we make, especially around food. There's also the feedback loop at play here. Joint pain discourages movement. Less movement means less circulation, less lubrication in the joints, and more stiffness. Add inflammatory foods into that mix, and you've created a cycle that keeps you stuck. But when you begin to remove the triggers, like these specific vegetables that are harming more than helping, you start to break that cycle, and that's when energy returns, mobility improves, and you start to reclaim control over your body. We don't need to fear vegetables, but we do need to listen to our bodies. If something causes a reaction, even if it's a food considered healthy, we have to pay attention to that signal. That's what high-performance living is really about. We're not blindly following broad health advice, but tuning into your individual response and making adjustments accordingly. So, if you've been struggling with joint pain, unexplained fatigue, or just a sense that your body isn't moving or feeling the way it used to, this might be the missing link. Eliminate nightshades for a few weeks and observe. Track how your joints feel. Track your energy. That self-awareness can unlock changes that no supplement ever could. There's another category of vegetables that often gets praised for its nutrient density: leafy greens like spinach and Swiss chard. On the surface, they look like perfect additions to any healthy diet. They're low in calories, packed with vitamins, and have that deep green color we associate with wellness. But just beneath that surface is a hidden compound that doesn't get talked about enough: oxalates. And for some people, oxalates could be contributing to joint discomfort and low energy, silently working against the very health goals they're trying to achieve. Oxalates are naturally occurring compounds found in many plant foods, and their job in the plant is to bind minerals like calcium and magnesium. That's not necessarily a problem for the plant, but in the human body, it can lead to complications. When we eat high oxalate foods like raw spinach or Swiss chard frequently, those oxalates can bind to calcium in our gut and form crystals. Some of these crystals are harmless and get passed through, but others can deposit in soft tissues, including the joints, where they may contribute to inflammation, stiffness, and pain. Now, I want to be clear. This doesn't mean everyone should be afraid of spinach. Context always matters. But if you're someone who eats large amounts of high oxalate greens every day and you're experiencing chronic joint discomfort, it's worth paying attention. It's not just about what we eat. It's about how our bodies process and react to what we eat. There's a reason why some people feel worse after switching to what they think is a cleaner diet filled with raw greens. They might feel more bloated, more fatigued, or even notice more joint tightness. And often, oxalates are part of that equation. The body can only handle so much before it starts pushing back. And once oxalate crystals begin forming in tissue, it becomes harder to detox and restore balance without making some deliberate changes. One thing that surprises people is that even small changes can make a big difference. Something as simple as steaming your spinach instead of eating it raw can drastically reduce the oxalate content, or rotating in lower oxalate greens like arugula, romaine, or bok choy. These alternatives give your body the minerals and fiber it needs without the hidden downside. It's also important to think about bioavailability, how well your body can actually use the nutrients from your food. High oxalate content interferes with calcium and magnesium absorption, two minerals that are essential not just for bone strength, but for smooth muscle function and energy metabolism. So even though a cup of spinach might look like it's packed with nutrition on paper, what actually gets absorbed is a very different story, and here's the deeper layer. When your body is struggling with low-grade crystal buildup in tissues or recurring inflammation from poorly tolerated foods, it has to divert energy and resources to deal with that. That means less energy for your brain, less for your muscles, and slower recovery after physical activity. You might feel like you're dragging, mentally foggy, or always a step behind, and it could be tied back to this internal biochemical load that's being quietly driven by food choices that are supposed to help you. I've seen people regain their energy, reduce swelling in their joints, and even improve sleep quality just by making smart swaps. Reducing oxalate heavy foods doesn't mean cutting out greens altogether. It means learning what works with your body and adjusting accordingly. When you support your system rather than stress it, everything starts to click. Your joints move more freely, your mind clears, and energy feels stable instead of spiking and crashing. Sometimes we focus so much on what we should be eating that we forget to ask, is this actually working for me? That's where the real change begins. Most people don't realize that the health of their joints is deeply tied to the health of their gut. It's not an obvious connection at first glance, but when you zoom out and look at how the body works as an integrated system, it starts to make a lot of sense. The gut is not just where food gets digested, it's where your immune system lives, where nutrients are absorbed, and where inflammation can either be calmed or ignited. So if you're struggling with joint pain, stiffness, or chronic fatigue, you have to look at what's going on in the gut. Because often, the inflammation you feel in your knees or hands actually starts in your digestive tract. The lining of your gut is like a protective barrier. It decides what gets into your bloodstream and what doesn't. But when that lining is repeatedly exposed to irritants, whether it's from processed foods, stress, environmental toxins, or even certain vegetables that don't sit well with your system, that barrier starts to break down. When that happens, things that should stay inside the gut, like bacteria fragments or undigested food particles, leak into the bloodstream, and the immune system doesn't take that lightly. It sees those particles as threats and mounts a response. That response, while trying to protect you, creates inflammation, and if that inflammation is ongoing, it doesn't just stay in the gut, it spreads. That's when joints start to ache, energy levels drop, and recovery from simple movement or workouts becomes slower. What's even more fascinating is how your gut bacteria, your microbiome, plays a central role in this entire process. Certain bacteria help break down food in ways that reduce inflammation and support joint health. They produce compounds like short-chain fatty acids that are essential for calming the immune system and maintaining the integrity of the gut wall. But when your diet is filled with inflammatory foods, or even just foods your individual system doesn't tolerate, those helpful bacteria start to die off. Harmful strains take over, and they promote more inflammation, not less. Now, think about the impact that has over time. Every day, your gut is either helping your joints stay strong and pain-free, or it's slowly adding to the fire that's burning beneath the surface. And it's not about having perfect digestion or taking expensive probiotics. It's about understanding that your food choices don't just fuel your body, they shape the internal environment that dictates whether you thrive or just get by. When your gut is working well, you feel it everywhere. You move more easily, you recover faster, you wake up with more energy, and your mood stabilizes. But when the gut is struggling, everything feels harder, especially your joints. So if you're dealing with chronic joint pain, it's not just about what's happening at the surface. Go deeper, look at what your gut is telling you, because sometimes the key to better mobility, reduced inflammation, and renewed energy isn't a new supplement or therapy. It's healing from the inside out. So once we've removed the problem foods, the ones secretly causing inflammation or disrupting gut function, the next step is just as important. It's about what we choose to put in their place. And the good news is, there are vegetables that don't just avoid triggering inflammation. They actually help fight it. These are the foods that work with your body, not against it. They protect your joints, improve your circulation, and even boost your energy levels from the inside out. Take cruciferous vegetables, for example, broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. These foods contain powerful compounds like sulforaphane and indole-3 carbinol, which have been shown to actively reduce inflammation in the body. They don't just sit in your gut. They interact with your cells. They activate internal antioxidant pathways that help detoxify harmful substances, reduce oxidative stress in the joints, and create an environment that supports healing and mobility. You're not just eating for nutrients, you're eating for function. Another great example is sweet potatoes. They're rich in beta-carotene, a precursor to vitamin A, which plays a crucial role in immune regulation. That's key because inflammation is, at its core, an immune response. When the immune system is supported and balanced, joint flare-ups become less frequent, recovery becomes faster, and that sluggish, weighed-down feeling starts to lift. And sweet potatoes are also high in fiber, which supports the gut microbiome. A connection we've already seen is essential for joint health and sustained energy. Bok choy is another underrated vegetable that supports joint and energy health. It's packed with magnesium, calcium, and potassium, minerals that help regulate muscle contraction, nerve signaling, and fluid balance. These are not just good for bones. They're vital for avoiding muscle cramps, stiffness, and that general achy feeling that slows you down throughout the day. And because bok choy is low in oxalates, unlike spinach or chard, your body can actually absorb more of those minerals without interference. What happens when you make these vegetables, the foundation of your meals is subtle at first, but it builds. Your joints feel less puffy in the morning, your energy doesn't crash mid-afternoon, your recovery after physical activity feels quicker. It's not magic, it's cellular biochemistry working in your favor because you're giving your body exactly what it needs to perform. You also get more stable blood sugar, better digestion, and sharper mental clarity. All of that is connected to energy. When your body isn't constantly using resources to fight hidden inflammation, it can reallocate those resources to movement, brain function, and long-term repair. You're not just managing symptoms anymore. You're supporting the system. This is why food can either slow you down or unlock a higher gear. It's not just about avoiding what harms you. It's about intentionally choosing what heals you. The right vegetables can serve as medicine, movement fuel, and long-term protection if you know which ones to trust. When we talk about energy, most people immediately think of sleep, caffeine, or maybe exercise. But real, sustainable, cellular energy starts much deeper than that. It starts in the mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses inside your cells. These are the engines that turn nutrients into usable fuel. And the vegetables you eat can either support that process or interfere with it. If your goal is to feel energized, focused, and physically capable day after day, you have to think about how to feed your mitochondria. Certain vegetables have the ability to directly support mitochondrial function. Think about colorful, deeply pigmented vegetables like beets, red cabbage, and purple carrots. They contain high levels of polyphenols and nitrates, compounds that improve blood flow and oxygen delivery to your cells. More oxygen and nutrients to your mitochondria means more efficient energy production. That's not just a short-term boost. It's the kind of internal support that builds real endurance and resilience over time. Then there's the role of B vitamins, particularly B2, B3, and B6, which are crucial in the energy-making process. Vegetables like mushrooms, asparagus, and Brussels sprouts are loaded with these. Without enough of these nutrients, your cells can't effectively convert carbohydrates, fats, and proteins into ATP, the actual unit of energy your body uses. That's when fatigue shows up, not because you're lazy or out of shape, but because your cells literally don't have enough fuel to function. Even minerals like magnesium and iron, often overlooked in conversations about energy, are critical here. Magnesium helps activate the enzymes your mitochondria use to produce energy, and iron is essential for carrying oxygen to your tissues. Leafy greens like kale and collards, when properly prepared and rotated, offer these minerals in highly usable forms. So when you choose vegetables that are rich in these key compounds, not just any vegetables, but the right ones, you're not just eating healthy. You're tuning the very machinery that powers your brain, your body, and your ability to stay sharp, mobile, and motivated. You're giving your cells the raw materials they need to do their job efficiently, day after day, without relying on artificial stimulants or burning out. This is how we move beyond just feeling okay and start experiencing real, lasting energy rooted in biology, supported by food, and built from the inside out. It's one thing to know which vegetables to avoid and which ones to prioritize, but the real transformation happens when you put that knowledge into action consistently. A lot of people get overwhelmed thinking they need to overhaul their entire diet overnight. But that's not how lasting change works. What you need is a simple, repeatable protocol that fits into your daily life, something that doesn't just work once, but keeps working day after day, week after week, to support your joints, your energy, and your overall vitality. Start with elimination. If you've been dealing with joint discomfort or low energy, try cutting out nightshades like tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers for just 3 to 4 weeks. Same with high oxalate greens like raw spinach and Swiss chard. Use this time as a reset, a way to give your body a break from the foods that could be quietly contributing to inflammation. Pay close attention to how you feel during this period. You don't need fancy tests. Just tune in. Are your joints feeling looser in the morning? Is your energy more stable? Are you sleeping better? That feedback is your most powerful guide. While you're removing those triggers, you want to build your meals around the right replacements. Choose cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, and bok choy. Add in energy, boosting options like sweet potatoes, beets, and red cabbage, Aim for variety, but don't overcomplicate it. Rotate your greens, steam or saute them with olive oil or avocado oil, and pair them with a protein source that helps you absorb the fat, soluble nutrients more efficiently. You're not just feeding your stomach, you're fueling your cells. Timing matters too. If you want maximum energy during the day, make sure you're getting a solid portion of anti-inflammatory veggies with your first meal. That sends the right signals to your metabolism and primes your mitochondria for efficient energy production early on. Keep the heavier or higher carb vegetables like sweet potatoes later in the day if you're more active or when you need that extra push. Most importantly, keep it consistent. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking it's all or nothing, but one well-balanced meal a day can start shifting your inflammation levels. Over time, your baseline improves, and what once felt like effort choosing the right vegetables, preparing them well, becomes second nature. That's how real change happens, and that's how your joints and your energy levels begin to thrive. So when we step back and really look at what's happening in the body, how certain vegetables can quietly inflame the joints, how others can heal them and energize the entire system, it becomes clear that food isn't just fuel. It's information. It tells your body what to do, how to feel, how to move, and the beautiful part is you're not stuck, you have control. By simply removing what harms and consistently choosing what helps, you can start to move through life with more freedom, less pain, and more sustained energy than you thought possible. Your body is always listening. Now it's time to give it the right message.